Vibe coding. What the hell is vibe coding? Does it matter to you as a business owner who's just trying to make ends meet? And, what are the risks? What are the benefits? Can you use it? Can you not? I mean, all the things we hear all about vibe coding these days, it's like, oh, OpenClaw this or whatever it is. And, I just vibe coded all weekend and built this really cool thing. Cool. Great. As a business owner, what does that mean for you?
Yeah.
So,
and that brings us to another episode of BizMeds. We're your neuroscience business coaches and your hosts for the show. My name is Saad.
My name is Darris. And as always, we're here to give you the minimum effective dose. And as we said, it's all about vibe coding today.
Yeah.
Which is funny because in our world, like we see this probably more often than not. We've probably even leveraged vibe coding a bit to do things and develop projects along the way. So I guess for the business owner that's wondering, hey, I got a team of people. I got this IT guy that I pay, what the hell is vibe coding? What does it actually mean? So let's talk about what the fuck is vibe coding.
Okay. Yeah, sweet. First time I heard this concept was probably a year and a half ago. And I had the exact same reaction. I was like, what the hell does this engineer know about coding? and when I say engineer, a guy that
an actual
engineer, never touched anything IT,
chemical engineer, mechanical engineer, petroleum engineer, all the other the real engineering.
The real engineer, I was like, what do they know about coding? And then basically the concept is having an idea, being able to talk to somebody about it, explaining it, and then getting the results to you.
Right. So in this case, we're talking about AI.
Yes.
Right. So kind of some of the big tools, the big main tool out there being Claude.
Yeah.
Is one of the, and even I think, what is it? OpenAI just did another one.
Yeah. The newest,
whatever their code.
5 point.
Whatever code. Yeah. It doesn't really matter.
Codex.
The idea is I have an idea about a program or something, right? And I'm going to talk to the AI and I'm going to explain it through prompts and it's going to give me code.
Yeah.
Right. It's going to do the coding so that I don't have to be a expert in all the different coding languages, whether it's SQL, whether it's Python or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Right. So that's essentially what vibe coding is. You could sit at your computer and just talk with, just kind of prompt your AI to build this thing with code, give you all the code to do it.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty cool thing.
It's amazing. It's something that you would have never imagined being able to do. And, obviously we are able to do it now, but 4 years ago, you come up with the ideas oh yeah, I want to do this. Okay, cool. Hire a data engineer, hire a developer, hire a project architect,
everything.
Every possible thing.
Then that's the three minimums.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Right. Then you usually need someone who can actually do your interface and all that stuff.
Someone gather your business requirements.
Yeah. Your security person, if they're not the same as your data engineer or whatever it is.
Yeah. So you needed a group of people to be able to do this.
Yeah.
Now you got this AI chatbot that you just tell it what you're looking for, and it will start doing things for you.
Yes. And you can direct it as you go.
Actually, no, don't like that. Yeah, don't want this. Actually, this is what I have in my business. How does this, supplement some of the other things you're telling me to do?
Yes. Yeah, where you need to kind of build some of those things. Or maybe you don't have tokens. Yeah, maybe you don't have access to those people in your business. Yeah. And so it's, I'm trying to solve a problem. Fits very well into our AIM framework, right? Automation, insight, mastery, and the whole automation of things and being able to leverage something like an AI to help you code something.
Yeah.
So and that whole idea is we're going to reduce operational drag. We're going to reduce cognitive load. We're going to get things better, faster, moving more, and being able to leverage an AI to help you do that. Mm-hmm. So whether it's build an automation or something other that helps kind of reduce a bottleneck or remove a bottleneck in the business.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like, it's so funny because like when you say vibe coding, you just picture like just some nerdy guy sitting at his computer just coding away.
Yeah.
Right. And it's because it gives the idea like, oh, I'm just vibing, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is fine because you're essentially like talking to the.
It is,
but it's a little more repetitive and like.
It's you could get your results in an hour instead of like somebody. So when you say vibe coding, in my brain, like I see it as like, sunny day, dudes like just on the computer talking and getting the results a lot faster.
Yeah.
Versus like the original or like the OG coding, I see like some dude in there in his dark basement.
Yeah, drinking Mountain Dew.
Yeah, drinking Mountain Dew. Lights like the only light in his room is like the computer screen lights and like just reflecting off of his glasses.
Yeah,
it's just
Dungeons and Dragons books in the back.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's kind of how I perceive like OG coding. But the one thing that I really, really enjoy about this whole vibe coding process is the barrier to entry.
Yeah.
It's become significantly smaller. And me being a very visual person, I find like you can figure out what good looks like a lot faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what the limitations are. You can actually iterate it much quicker.
Exactly.
And kind of break things along the way much faster versus, hey, you send your project off to the team and they go build it and they come back, oh, how did this look? What do you think about this? And so the speed at which you can implement things is much faster.
Yeah.
Right. And because kind of what you want, it might sometimes a little bit easier to direct the coding.
Yeah.
Right. In that session.
And this is where, the reason why I love this part of it is because going back to our episode about how you prompt AI is how you lead.
Yeah.
This is where it becomes super, super critical because, going back to like the team of 5 people, you now have to make sure that those 5 people see the exact vision you have in your head. Mm-hmm. And as humans, we're not designed to like see exactly what you're seeing until you give it the exact prompt or help people understand exactly what you're going after.
Yeah.
This is
everyone's viewing it through that
completely
lens,
different.
right?
Yeah. So when you replace those 5 people and you have that AI chatbot, this is where that challenge comes in, is how well you can articulate the idea you have of what it is that you're trying to accomplish, right? Because this is where my initial interaction with it was, where I was getting really frustrated with like, no, this is what I want. And then I had to take a step back and realize, actually, it did exactly what I told it to do. It's like
you're like, oh, never mind.
Yeah, never mind. This is a me issue.
Yeah. So like for the business owners, really like thinking about this, it's, we know it fits well into the framework of like, especially around automation and that idea like frees up time for you to spend on the more important stuff, which is insight and mastery. What are the risks associated with vibe coding?
So many. Yeah. See, and this is where like, again, not trying to take a dig at the engineers, but since I said that earlier, they're not going to understand like the security aspects of it. They're not going to know the full, it's the same way as if I came in and I was like, well, to a chemical engineer, why don't we just like mix these 2 things? And, AI told me, let's do these 2 things. Yeah. And I just take that as like the truth. Exactly. And just try it. Yeah. So the biggest risk is not having the full context of the implications of what you're trying to accomplish.
Right.
Get across.
Yeah. Especially like you're doing code. And so is there potential security risks? Yeah. Like there are reports of, people vibe coding, and I don't have the specific one, but essentially like where they released a ton of data out inadvertently because they didn't really know. Yeah. So you have to be thinking about, not only is the code secure, but what about prompt injection? If you're like trying to use an agent or something like that, like you have to be really careful that you're protecting your agent around prompt injection. That's where someone can inject a prompt into it to get it to then get information or access out, right? Yeah. Which is not what you want because you want it to be a safeguard, but you also need to make sure, I'm doing this data thing. I have a thing with data, like part of my automation. Am I inadvertently, like, do I understand the security risk of what I'm doing? Is this data safe? Am I doing something that isn't, best practice. And if you're just kind of like, if you don't understand that and you're not talking to the AI with that context, you can inadvertently like make a really big security risk for yourself without really realizing it. And you would never know.
A pile of shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because the thing is, you actually said this perfectly there, and it's, so shoot, I lost my train of thought. God damn it. It's the idea of like, when you're not an expert in the field or you've never done anything, you take the first thing that comes out.
Yeah.
And AI is literally designed to think fast and not use a lot of compute, right? Like it needs the creators of Claude, OpenAI. It's designed to give you the quickest answer possible. So if you don't know what you don't know, you're just going to take whatever the first thing that comes out. And more like people like yourselves, when you're using Claude, you're being very specific with the ask. You chunk it out and you ask it like, hey, this is the first thing I need to accomplish. This is what I'm going to do. Whereas like someone that doesn't know, they're going to go in and they're going to say, this is what I'm trying to build, start building it.
Yeah. Hey, I need a program or I need this to do this, go like build it.
Yeah.
And it'll just literally rip out a version of it.
A version of it. Yeah, exactly. And where something, because you have the experience, you need only 500 to 1,000 lines of code to build that thing.
Yeah.
Because you give it a very vague ask and you're vibe coding and whatever, and you have no idea what it's actually doing in that code, it could give you a 5,000 line code, which again does quote unquote solve the problem, but it's not the most effective code. It's not the most secure code. It's not, it's not.
It fails at tasks. Like when you start to scale it up, it fails. Like you don't even, it has nobody, you don't pressure test it. You don't do any type of any additional testing on it.
Yeah. And the fail part is like, again, if you don't know what's failing, it's,
well, that actually is a really good point. I had you like,
tell me where you're failing.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, right? Like sometimes what you can do is you can go back in your part of your review is you won't know, like it'll spit something out, but it's not perfect, right? Like it knows the code and obviously it's a really good companion, but like you have to know what you're talking about because you can inadvertently, it can but it can write a piece of code. But because, again, it's just designed to go fast, it gives you an output. Like there'll be a part of that code that will fail, but you'll have no idea that it is failing. It's just called a silent fail, right? It just does and skips over it, and you'll never know. Yeah. And so, like, if you don't know what to look for, or you don't know how to then go back to the AI and be like, "Hey, now review this for your your quality assurance and like all these things," you'll now end up with something that doesn't work, but you will never know that it's not working 100%.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Because you don't have context. You don't have that. So this is where the additional risk of, if you don't have kind of specific knowledge of the area, like vibe coding can be great. It can also inadvertently do you a lot of harm because you're just unaware. It just exists in the world of, I don't know what I don't know. And that's a big risk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so, okay. Do we want to talk about, I guess, use cases around like, I would say, well, look, like as we're talking to business owners and things like that, it's like, okay, I think we've done a good job of kind of like, hey, this is what vibe coding is, right? Here's some of the risks associated. Like, here's the things like as you're going through, like, oh, like I got to be careful about this stuff, but like some real simple use cases, like where would I use it? Yeah. Right.
So the first thing I started using it for, where it helped me a lot, was designing the concept. So if I have the team of 5 people, like, do I need the architect? Arguable, like, might need him half-time instead of, like, the full time that I initially planned. Do I need the data engineer? Absolutely. Like, that's still a full requirement. So going back to, like, the barrier of entry, it's become a lot smaller. Yeah. So I can build out the entire plan, spend more of my time with it, and as the business owner, can design out exactly what I'm looking for. So if I'm just starting my business, I don't have a way to capture any of my customers. I can build out a customer portal app or whatever I want, through this vibe coding process. Now, when I have that designed, I need to figure out all the things that would be required, like obviously customer name, customer, addresses, whatever, financial information for tax purposes, like their how I'm going to invoice them, like that type of stuff. Like I can build out a quick little app with that.
Yeah.
That's just the front page.
Yeah.
The back end, like the integration and everything where the security comes in, I will still need a team for that.
Yeah.
But once I get the front end set up, I can now reduce the cost to get a full team instead of now I have a plan. I just need executors.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I was looking at it from even like peel it back even further. I'm a business owner. I have all these spreadsheets.
Fair.
Right? Okay, cool. How do I get all these together? Instead of manually copying and pasting them together to do some like graphs and stuff like that, can I code something, right? And use AI to help me code something to bring all those together into one place so that I can start to understand what it's telling me.
Yeah.
Right. So let's just say I have a business that relies very heavily on Excel and they track all of their appointments in that. Yeah. Right. And so as they update those, cool. You at least, like from a very basic data standpoint, Excel spreadsheet is something, right? And if it's formatted all the same, and very similar, well then, okay, we got some really good baseline
starting
point. Okay, cool. Like we can start to use that. We can start to build code to like bring all those together into a space to then help us understand, okay, what is this telling us? So if you have, let's say, reasons for, if the appointment has completed or maybe they no-showed or they canceled last minute or there's a certain window at which, like let's say they no-showed or they canceled within a certain time frame of the appointment, and those two things impact revenue, right? Because they should be charged a no-show fee or a late cancel fee, right? Well, wouldn't it be helpful to know on average, like out of every week, how many appointments, no-show and late cancel, right? Oh, also, who are the biggest, perpetrators of that? Who are your biggest? Which one of these people or companies are happening the most with? Oh, okay. Are you then making sure that those are being charged, or are your people charging for those? Like, are that's revenue seepage, but if you just have all this kind of information sitting around, you're like, oh, well, I have this. If you haven't even really thought about that, well, you could vibe code something together to like at least give you some data, right, to make some better decisions. Yeah. And that's the kind of what we want to get at is how do you start to bring things together to help you make better decisions and have access to data to be able to formulate that and say, oh, okay, or I don't have a problem. So if I don't have a problem, well, then I'm not going to spend any time fixing it. And then helps you focus on fixing the right problem the right way, or at least kind of moving towards that. Yeah. Right. I think the reason I pick on Excel is because so many businesses, it is so common. Yeah. And almost everyone fucking uses it. Yeah. It's like, oh, I'm just going to use an Excel sheet. Okay, cool. Right. So maybe we could do something to kind of bring those together to at least kind of move you along the path. Or, well, I have this program over here. I can get an output from that, and then I can merge it with this other data here and make it into now, again, a source of data that I can make decisions with. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. And how do I do that faster? Yeah. And so for the business owner, I'm like, this comes down to solve the right problem the right way. Does it always make sense for you to become a vibe coder? No. Right. Usually there's more important things that you need to be focusing on. Yeah. Can you maybe find a vibe coder or someone who's very well, that basically comes kind of AI first and automation first, that solves a lot of those issues, that doesn't need 20 people on a team to be able to do that? That's probably a good place to start, right? Yeah. But the thing I struggle with on that front is a lot of people will get a new grad that's been spending a lot of time with AI but has no business context. Oh. And then, it's just like building a bunch of stuff. And you're like, cool,
what does this actually mean?
How many times have we seen, these companies, they bring in interns or students, whatever, and they give them this, oh, here, we're going to like get you to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
And they do all this thing in Excel and they don't know any better.
Yeah.
Like you said, they have zero business context. They have no idea. They're just doing what they're told. And so that's where that, I think it's really important when you talk about like you having enough context of a situation, right?
Yeah.
And are you solving the right problem the right way? So just because you have an intern or a student and they have some technical expertise, it doesn't mean they have enough context and expertise in a wider range to know, is that the best way to do it? Right?
Yeah.
It's like, so having them sit down and like filling out, 1,000 rows in an Excel spreadsheet may not be the best, and they don't know any better.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where, to your point, like, you just bring in somebody that has this, this technology first mentality, but also has industry experience.
Or yes.
So then you're not paying for the same thing twice.
Yes.
Do a one-time good job.
Yeah. And that's, I think, part of the challenge. So this is where I can see, like, this is where if you are trying to leverage a little bit of vibe coding because you're like, hey, I just need a place to start, you can give it that context of, this is the greater context of my business, right? Approaching it from that lens versus, oh, I'm going to go hire this data engineer. And the data engineer, what do they know about business? Very little. Right?
Exactly.
They know data. And like most engineers, they know how to complicate things.
Yeah, exactly. We need all of this information and once. Oh, hold on, Chief.
Okay, so this is actually really good. So this brings me back to when we scaled the $30 million. And part of our contract was we had to do this weekly report. And that would take myself and my 2 assistant managers, so my 2 second in commands, it would take us 3 days a week to do this thing.
Yeah.
Like 3 of us, like the most senior and probably highest paid, we're now having to spend 3 days a week just to like make the to get all of the data and information together for this report. Like that's almost 50% of our week. Every week for a stupid report. And so we went back to the client and was like helping them understand. So my question was, well, like, what do you guys do with this? Oh, we just track it. I'm like, so you guys do anything with it? No, we just like to collect it. So my challenge to them was, okay, so how is this being used to make decisions? And we found out that probably 75 to 80% of it was like not helpful. So it was killing our ability to deal with real challenges and solve the real challenges of the business. And just to make this one contractual, it was people not really knowing what they were doing. They thought, oh, we just have all this information, and they just gather it every week, but nothing was being done. And the way they were gathering it was segmented. So I'll just try to do this fast. It's like you have data, and the whole thing with data is you want to have a connected series of data that over time you can connect it, right? So it's all, well, this one was just like, oh, we track this thing. And I'm like, well, you'd have no way of knowing that is connected to this down here because there's no linkage. And so I proposed a way to help them solve that so there'd be linkage. But then we got it down to where now this weekly report took us about an hour and a half. Right? And that allowed us to focus on the most important part of the business. But that, again, that's all around understanding the context of the problem you're solving. Understand that data can help you make decisions, but like there's a difference between information and reams of like numbers and stuff that doesn't really make any sense.
Info,
to then, oh wow, okay, well we're doing this. Why are we doing this? Oh, here's what we actually need to do. Boom, this is done. Now that gives us the ability to solve the real problem, which is, oh, we need to optimize the other parts of the business, but we didn't have access to that data before because we spent so much of our time doing dumb things. And that helped us to scale because it released operational drag, allow us to focus on the most important part, which is the insight of what our operation was actually telling us. Did we have to bring other technology in? Yes, right? We had to solve the drag of, we have people manually trying to schedule things and now finding an optimizing program. But like those types of things help remove operational drag much faster. But you don't have that, like students and stuff, they don't have that kind of context, right? And so you can end up kind of trying to do the same, like doing dumb things over and over and not really realizing that they're stupid. Which is which can be a trap of vibe coding, which is, am I solving the real problem?
Yeah, exactly.
And that always comes back to solve the right problem the right way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So do we love vibe coding?
Yes.
Depends.
And no.
Yes and no. It depends. Yeah. Is it solving the right problem the right way? Can you absolutely leverage vibe coding? For sure, you can. We can leverage it into the AIM framework, right? Where we start to automate to give us better insight and mastery. Are there risks? 100%.
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe we'll just touch on like one way to maybe address some of those risks before we head out.
Okay.
Right. So when you have this output, let's say we're dealing with code, right? You can actually again prompt your AI companion to be like, hey, what are the top ways that this code or this infrastructure could be compromised? Right? Now, does any of this setup or code or anything like that, is it susceptible? Like, what's the risk rating of each of these to be susceptible to be either compromised or penetrated from an external party?
Yeah.
And you can use it then to challenge it, to run it, and make sure that you at least have some way. So if you are vibe coding, you have to be able to there's a simple thing you can do, which is just prompt it to now start to score it, challenge it, make sure that, and test it to make sure that it isn't susceptible to being compromised.
Yeah.
And you can use that as a tool to then do it. I'm like, oh, or here's the highest risk one. How do we mitigate this? Right. I think that's probably the best way to, at least a tool to be able to do that.
Start with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Until you gain some more context. But as a business owner, is at the highest leverage part of your time, it really is situational dependent.
Yeah.
Right. It's, can you get a team that maybe is already doing that?
Yeah.
And they're way more efficient, right? And they know how to do that kind of work, but they have enough business context to help bring it to make sure you're solving the right problem.
Yeah.
So vibe coding, it can be really fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It can also be really terrible.
Yeah, exactly.
So with that, everyone, I want to thank you for joining us on this episode of Business Meds. I'm Darris.
My name is Saad.
We are your neuroscience business coaches, but also your vibe coding experts. And as always, we're here to help you automate as much as possible to give you the operational bandwidth and mental bandwidth to focus on the most important things, which is the insight and mastery parts of your business. And hopefully you got that today, and hopefully learned something about vibe coding, what it is, what it isn't, where you can use it, where you probably shouldn't use it. And if you are using it, how do you reduce the risk of using it? And use that to scale your business. So with that, thank you everyone for joining us. Anything else? No?
That's a good point.
Oh yes, the standard thank you to our mothers.
Oh, yeah.
Saad's mom, love you so much. Mom, thank you so much. Everyone, thank you for joining us. And remember, you're just one day away from the life you've always dreamed about. We're going to see you in the next episode.